Okay, hi. Welcome to the UK Film Festival. I'm very pleased to have you with us and have a screening of your wonderful film, which I really enjoyed. Um, can you introduce yourself and tell us where you are?
Thank you so much, Ash, for welcoming me and our film into the lovely UK Asian Film Festival, which I so admire. And I'm extremely honored and thrilled to be a part of this year's festival with such incredible films, and especially in a year which is filled with so many challenges. And I think cinema really is very important in during these trying times. So I'm glad that Equation Film Festival is happening, and it's happening in this way, in a hybrid form, as we all know now. I'm Tathagata Ghosh. I'm from Kolkata, India. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a writer, director, and producer. And I'm here with my film Miss Man, which deals with the self-discovery of a trans woman from rural Bengal. And we see her journey in the film, finding herself, discovering herself in the process. And I think this is a very personal film to me, to our entire team. And I'm extremely delighted that Education Film Festival has given us this opportunity to bring this film and hopefully create a dialogue around the themes that we try to explore through this film. Thank you so much.
I found your film a delight. It was beautifully crafted, wonderfully shot. It's just, it reminded me of a painting with layers and layers and layers and so vividly portraying a character, and it's very moving. So can you talk a little bit, what's your background in filmmaking?
I have been doing this for the past 8-9 years now. I am actually a film student. I studied mass communication and videography from St. Xavier's College in Kolkata. And then I did my postgraduate diploma in screenwriting from Vancouver Film School. So I've been a student of cinema for long. And then, of course, I started doing my own making my own films. Miss Man is actually my second short film. That has pretty much been my background, writing for the screen, directing films, producing them as well when I'm making my own short films, and writing for others as well occasionally. So pretty much been involved with filmmaking for almost 8-9 years now. And I think I essentially identify myself as a writer first, because I've been writing since I was 10-11 years old, short stories, poems, and then of course I fell in love with cinema. As I mean, the essentials for any Bengali boy growing up will be Satyajit Ray, Mrinal Sen, Ritik Ghatak, the masters. And I'm no exception. Of course, I discovered his writings, short stories, been an ardent, been absolutely like a voracious reader of literature. So I've been reading a lot as well. And of course, then I started writing. And after my boards exam in class 10, we have a 2-month break where we, like till the results come out, till the final results come out. So in that break, I saw numerous films. During those time, for me, watching a film meant essentially worshipping the hero, like it happens in mostly in Indian viewers. Like I see the hero and the heroines in the conventional way. So I've been a fan of Shah Rukh Khan and like the usual Bollywood stuff. But then, of course, in that break of class 10, after the examination, I discovered the classics of Bengali cinema. So Satyajit Ray's films, starting from Oppo trilogy to this Calcutta trilogy and his other works. And of course, I fell in love with him. I fell in love with the films, and I wondered that who is the mind who is making these films. Of course, I knew Satyajit Ray and what the genius that he was, or rather is. But I was very curious to really find out that what went on inside that mind, inside that who can craft those characters, who can create those narratives, and yet I'm feeling like someone is telling my story on screen. So that was the bug which really bit me. And I think it was 2011 or 12. It was the month of June, and during those time, DSLR cameras were still not there. It was mostly handycams. And handycams which was used, like in weddings to capture the weddings and moments, like it was really it was not a big thing. Wedding photography was not there at all, but it was mostly people, like throwing a flashlight when you were probably eating or you're getting married and shooting it on a handycam. So my uncle, one of my uncles had that business, and I asked him that, can you please rent me your handycam for just morning? And I want to just, and during that time I was writing for a little magazine that some of my friends and me published actually. And so one day I thought that I was a painter. I'm a painter as well. I learned classical painting, and I was illustrating the stories, some of the stories in that magazine. And I thought that what if this image that I drew, that I illustrated, can move, which essentially means to photograph it, to capture it, the live action version of it. And I took that handycam, gathered a few of my friends, and I went out and shot a scene which I actually drew from that story. And of course, that didn't end up being nothing. That ended up being nothing. But I was fascinated, and I asked myself that, what if I can do this for the rest of my life? And that was how I first touched a camera, like a video camera, and I have been doing that since then, and failed and failed and failed and tried and tried and tried, and I think here I am today. So it was quite a journey, but really rewarding.
So you've had a lot of training, and you've made this really wonderful film. So the title is Miss Man. So very briefly, tell me a little bit about the title.
It had a different name initially. Till the later part of post-production, the film was called as something else. But then, like my lead actor, Orgho, who played the protagonist, he's a non-actor, by the way. He has never acted before till this film. He's a school teacher.
So you discovered him at Calcutta Pride or something?
Yes, exactly. I did discover him in Kolkata Pride Walk. Actually, when I wrote the script and I sent the script to one of my actors, Payal, who played the sex worker in the film, she read the script and she asked me that who will play the protagonist. And till that point, I had no one in mind. And I was very sure that I will cast actors from the queer community of the city to make the portrayal authentic, because it immediately lends itself that authenticity, the truthfulness in while I film it. So I told her that I don't know yet. I haven't found the protagonist, and she said that I know this person, a non-actor. I met him long back, 5-6 years back, in a workshop, a drama workshop. Like it was a crash course, something like that. But he has never acted after that. Neither has he done stage, film. Never. But you can just see his picture and see if he fits the bill. So I said that, yeah, send me along. And Payal sent me a picture of Orgho from Kolkata Pride Walk the previous year. And it was the same picture of him bending down his head with that feather behind his ears, which is the poster and the image in the film as well. And I was like, yeah, this is the man. This is the guy. I need him for this film. Exactly. It felt like I wrote the script for him. So it was a strange connection, and Payal introduced me to Orgho. Orgho was initially reluctant to play the part because he was very unsure what the film is about, and he had a full-time job. He still has a full-time job of teaching biology in a school in Calcutta. And he said that, don't worry, I'll shoot it in the weekends also. So don't no worries at all. You just read the script and tell me what you think. If you like it, do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. Initially, Ash, the script was actually linear. Like it was a linear script. And when I finished it, and when Orgho came on board, and Orgho, the first thing Orgho said when he read the script was that, how did you know my story? This is me from 5 years back. And related immediately. And I was like, boom, this is it. It's happening. And once he came on board, what you see in the film, the nonlinear structure, it all came from him. I didn't workshop. I didn't need to do any workshop with Orgho. It was just, we sat for like over a month on the weekends, afternoons, and I just listened to his stories. He just shared a lot with me of people he knew. And that was how, and then actually I started having images in my dreams, like those stories that he narrated. And he worked as a model also photo shoots before that. And so he has a sense of really vivid aesthetics, very, very rich aesthetic sense he has as an individual as well, as an individual. So it came from him, those images. So during filming, usually I'm a person who storyboards everything from A to Z. This is the first time where actually I improvised a lot on sets, because I was watching Orgo, those shots near the windows where the blue light is coming. It was actually, it was lit up for the brothel sequence that we see in the film. But after the shoot was over and we were just, we were just breaking the lights, and for the next setup, I saw Orgo standing and looking out of the window. And there was a certain purity in that moment. And I said that I need to capture this. So I asked my cinematographer, Tuhin, brilliant cinematographer, and of course, the fact that you felt the images, the frames look like a painting, has to do a lot with Tuhin's inputs, and the gaffer, Probir. Both of them work very closely on the film. So I just said to him that film this. And he said that for which scene? I said, I don't know, but just film this. If I don't use it, it's all right. I just want to keep it for myself. And that's how those moments, which you see in the film, those images, was inspired from the cast, was inspired from Orgo. And in a very strange way. And since I was shooting on the weekends, I looked through the rushes, and I was sleeping with those shots in my head. And those images actually came to my mind. So after a weekend, when I went back to the second day of shoot, I had a lot of those images. So it kind of found its way, those images found its way, and that structure developed during making of this film, and of course during editing. Even my editor Amir was very unsure that whether people will get it, like the way the film has been structured. But I said, just let us go with my guts. I have an instinct that this will work. So by the time when the film was finished and we showed it to others, nobody questioned. Everyone got it. Everyone understood it. And as if I just wanted the film to feel like a dream, so that I can get inside the character's mind and the psyche, as you correctly said, and to understand the characters more. So
I mean, I really got to, yeah. I mean, I think you did a really good job, because it was like information portrayed in the most beautiful way. So it allowed me to build the picture of myself and get closer to the character and feel that I understood the character greater. So as the character actioned his actions, what he was doing next, I was wanting him to do this. I understood why he was going to do it. I appreciated it. And, when you come to the end, I was going, way, yippee, this is great. And, the images are so striking that they're so poetic that it will stay in my mind. And, I have to say that I watched the film and I started watching it again. And then I watched it again. And then, I will watch it again, because this is the kind of film you have to see a few times, because it's that beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And the full credit, as I said, full credit goes to the lead cast, Ratrish, also Ratrish Shah, who played the transform mentor character in the film, Ratrish and Tuhin, Orgo, Probir. So it was, I think this film is an example of a perfect teamwork, and I think I get so inspired, and I'm a person who actually sets his script early on to the cast. But this Orgo was cast actually, till a month before the shoot. I didn't know who was going to play the lead character, because I was desperately finding a face, and I was not satisfied with the people pictures of whom were sent to me. And then suddenly I meet Orgo, and I didn't need to do a single day of workshop. It was mostly making familiar with the technical aspects of filmmaking, like a shot has to be taken from close up to a mid shot and those kind of stuff. It was never about the motivation of the character or the inspiration, emotions, because it felt like I was shooting a documentary with Orgo. There was so much truth in the moment, so much purity, so much the fact that the images felt poetic to you is because of Orgo's sincerity, passion, and honesty. And I think that made that his aura was pivotal in making the image as it is, because he showed me the way, and I just went ahead with it. It was so organic.
How long did it take to shoot?
The filming took place over 4 days, over a month, 4 days, 4 weekends. So it was that, and I'm glad. Usually, again, I mean, this is the first time I shot over a month for weekends, of course, because of Argo. But I think I'm glad that it happened this way, because I took time, I got some time to think about those images and think about the next days of work.
I mean, that's not very long for a half-hour film.
Yes, that's not very long, and we have so many locations also. But I think there are a lot of happy accidents which happened in this film, from locations to finding. There were many happy accidents, like the house where actually we see the dialogue about Sari happening. That house was not, I didn't have that location. It was supposed to be somewhere else. And that house was used by Ratrish and Argo to change their clothes and wear a sari. It was used as a change. And I didn't know. So when I went inside the house after they were done, I felt that, yeah, this is a great house. I've never seen this before. This is the day of shoot. I'm like, can I do this thing instead of this location where we initially fixed it during the Reiki? Can I do it on the balcony of this house? I didn't have permission. So I went inside the house, and
this is like real guerrilla filmmaking. That
absolutely,
you get your filmmaking. I mean, you know, what's interesting also is within the film the tension, the violence, the actual violence of the father, but also throughout it, this sense of violence, which is very interesting. I mean, I'm born in London, spent a lot of time in India, and I've always had this sense of violence within my experiences of India, of course, a lot else as well, but I haven't seen it portrayed so well that you constantly have it as like, it's like another character within the film, which was that intentional?
Yes, I mean intentional and non-intentional. I mean, there were some few things which were intentional, but few things which just happened by accident. You know, like so there was one scene with if you see like the kid who crying at the end, where the initial tenant was leaving, had to leave because of the father's, you know, like how the father treated that tenant. That the first friend of that kid who was feeding him, you know, which is played by Tom, who was feeding him that curry in the beginning scene, if you remember, the dancer. And there was a little patchwork I did with the kid, Riddhesh and Tamogno. It was during the edit process. So, and we felt, me and my editor both felt that we needed a beat to this particular thing. And how, so even Tamogno's scenes, it was supposed to be just that dance in the Bengali song, where it's me, that song. But then on the day of filming again, I felt that something in me felt that there can be a few things which can be added to make this character more dynamic, to make this character more moving, this scene more moving. So it was not intentional at all that way, but it became intentional on that day. So I went with my guts. I mean, this doesn't happen usually, and I am a person who actually very strict about the process of filming, right? You know, like I have to have everything set from beforehand. I do my homework really well. But this was a film which just developed on the day of filming. It was very unusual, you know, and not at all planned, and not at all intentional that way. But the film
let's talk a little bit more about the violence within the film. I mean, what did you want to say by exploring this?
I initially started writing this film when a friend was forcefully married off by his parents when he came out to them. And it was sort of a very violent phase in his life. So the film is inspired from the life of my friend. And that was the trigger for me while writing. And very early on in my childhood, when I was in class 6, 7, I used to take private tuitions in Bengali from this private tutor. It was a very early morning class where a bunch of 10, 11 of us used to learn Bengali from him. He's gay. And of course, at that point, I didn't understand.
So how old were you then?
I was in class 6, so I would be about, I think, 7, 8, 8, and I think 13.
So you're taking Bengali classes, and then what happened? You realized
yes,
the teacher was gay?
So no, so basically, and it's very poignant. So I used to see when I went to his classes, and my father used to take me to his classes, leave me, and then of course after 2 hours of our lessons, he came back and took me away again. Um, and every morning when I went there, we had about 2 days of weekly classes. When I went there, I used to see him waking up. Then he had a small room, and his couple room, one was occupied by his mother and the other was occupied by him. And on many days, I saw him waking up with another man on bed. And I went inside and they used to get ready. And when I came back to my house, I used to ask my parents that, are they brothers? Because they feel that they remind me of you and dad. So I used to ask them, I didn't get any answer because this concept was still a taboo. And the concept of homosexuality and all, and he was a brilliant teacher. He was a brilliant teacher. And I had the inspiration that, like the fascination I have with literature was actually inspired by him. And then one day, and my parents didn't answer me, obviously. And he was like, no, it's just, and they used to, divert the topic. And one day I heard that he had been thrashed by a few local, hooligans in that area, if I may use the term, brats, maybe, in that area where he lived because of his sexuality. And after that, a few days after that, my parents stopped sending me to his house because they felt that I was not safe also. So did many other parents of their children. So, and I didn't get an answer then that why this happened and why he was thrashed. Much later, when I started realizing what actually had happened during that time, I felt guilty. I felt angry with myself that I wish I can do something about it. And this was way back. This was almost, like in 2004 or 5, so 15, 16 years back. Section 377 was very much there. So these are the two triggers. So violence, and of course, I have seen also many friends who have faced violence from their parents as well in childhood. Not because of their sexuality, but just because their parents sometimes, used to hit them. Or so these things I have observed, and I have grown up in the suburbs. So I have seen all kinds of people from all kinds of classes, the middle class, the upper class, lower middle class, people who are under the below poverty line. I've seen them all. And so the violence and what it can do to people, how it can harm you, I have had a very close, association with that aspect of human life. So it came to me naturally in the script. And also when I was filming it, Orgho also saw similar things. He had similar experiences also. So it didn't feel it was, so both of our journeys somehow merged into that moment. And that's I think that was the inspiration. So it just, when I started writing that scene, it just flew with my pen just flew. So I think subconsciously those thoughts, those trigger points occupied my mind very strong.
So how has the film been received?
The film has been received really well. I think we made the film, and I didn't think that the film will have such a strong impact on the audience, but it has traveled to more than 50 international film festivals so far worldwide. UK Asian Film Festival is one of the couple of last screenings we are having with the film. This and one more screening in California after that. So that's about the end of the film's journey. It has been great. It has been overwhelming. It has been life-changing. I have had after screenings when there were physical screenings before the pandemic. I remember one of the first screenings which happened in Chennai, in India. I came out of the screening and there was an individual who was actually going through a sex reformation surgery. She came and hugged me. And said that thank you for making this film. Thank you for giving me courage. What I saw in this film will give me courage to stand up for myself as well. So these moving moments, more than any award, more than any anything, these affirmations. And one encounter also with one of my uncles who saw the film, and then after seeing the film, I knew that he was homophobic. I'm proudly saying he was, because after the film ended, I didn't tell him what the film was about. I just showed him the film. I said, I have made this film, you see this. And when the film ended, he sat for a while quietly, and I asked him, what happened? What did you find? I thought that he would switch off the film. He would send me to close the laptop. I don't want to watch it. Sat through the film, and he said that I feel for this. I feel for this character. He has so much pain. She has so much pain. And I was like, wow, this is really affecting him very emotionally, very personally. And I have had numerous conversations with him after watching that film on homosexuality, on sexuality, on gender, and it has been great. And I think these things, and I have a very strong connection with my village where I spent a part of my childhood as well. And I showed this film to many people there because their homosexuality is still a taboo. People cannot fathom the idea that a man can be married to a man or a woman can be married to a woman. They don't have that understanding. It's like man and woman, that's it. So when I'm showing this film to them, which is very important, probably, and that's why we made the film to create a dialogue, to create a conversation. The film is really doing its job. People are really understanding the film. And these are people, let me tell you, who watch only mainstream commercial films, like, like absolutely Bollywood and the local Bengali film stuff, which is very commercial, song and dance, usual masala kind of films. So this kind of narrative, the way this film is made, the structure of the film is very unusual for them now, till now. And when they saw the film, they didn't ask any question. They understood what was going on. And they asked me many questions after that, which was great. So apart from traveling to festivals, these encounters that I had with the film was immensely important. And I think it really made a difference in my life as well. I mean, the concept of gender fluidity, thanks to Argo, Raptrish, everyone who worked in this film, I also became a changed person. Usually filmmakers say that when they make a film, that this film changed me this and that way. But I think it did a great job. And I think this film will stay with me till my last breath.
What's your next film?
My next is actually, I'm working on a script right now. It's in very early stage of development. So it's tentatively titled Footprints. So I'm still working on that. It will be a drama. But the film which I finished recently is called The Scapegoat. It's a Bengali film, 25 minutes. It's a political drama film, a crime drama political film set in rural Bengal, which deals with a woman's journey through patriarchy, against patriarchy and hate politics in her village in Bengal. And I think it's a very timely film also, what is going on right now.
What's happened in West Bengal? I mean, how do you feel about what's been going on?
I feel devastated. I think the last few days has been emotionally draining for me, like many of my friends and peers and people whom I know. It's absolutely sad, and I mean,
people are getting sick.
Absolutely, and people are dropping dead just like that. People are dropping dead. I'm shocked at this, the demand of oxygen and the fact that people can't breathe. That is something so basic that we have taken this for granted for years. And now when the tragedy is unfolding, I'm appalled that this can also happen. I didn't think, but I've seen this in movies. I've read this in books. The fact that this can happen was beyond my imagination, but it is happening. And like every day when I wake up, I hear the death news of someone. I know of a friend, and it's like paining me a lot. And I wish I can do more, but the situation in West Bengal, as we speak today, is so severe, and I think it's slowly becoming the hotbed of the virus as well, the crisis, that people are just dropping dead and people are getting sick. And I'm worried. I'm in my home, so I'm privileged that way, that I can stay in my home. But my heart goes out to everyone who has lost their loved ones, and I'm absolutely shattered as an individual, as a human being. This loss of humanity is unprecedented, and I hope that we really learn our lesson. And I hope that I can only hope for a better future, though I don't know when that will come.
So, I mean, West Bengal rose up against the governing party. It's because of COVID, no?
Yes. And the elections happened, of course, over the month of April, and the results were announced in 2nd May, and of course the TMC won here. Trinamool Congress won here, won big in Bengal, and I think irrespective of the political stand that we have, or the crisis that we are facing in today's time, it's just to see that, of course, I mean, it's easy to put a blame on certain individuals. And of course, the election rallies, the political rallies were the reason why this crisis really, you know, like blew out of proportion. It just, you know, like took another level, took a different turn altogether. But how much responsible we have to be for the next election, or for when we vote, how much responsibility we need to really take now, learning our lesson that we really need to do our bit. And now to see people, government, we are important, we are more important than the government is not more important than us, and this is something we need to remind ourselves. So it is our duty to make the right choice. It is our duty to show them, show those politicians their way, because otherwise, if we don't act now, after seeing all this thing, I don't know, I can't even say may God help us, because there will be no one to help, and we are on our own right now. We see public funds being, you know, like we don't know, we have lost track of the public funds, where it is going. It is our hard-earned money. So it just gives me a lot of pain and anger, but really there is so little that we can do about this. So the only thing that we can do, of course, apart after surviving this this monster that we are fighting against now, is to, of course, to make the right choice. And I mean, if we don't learn our lesson even after this, I don't know, I mean, this will be even darker days waiting for us.
One of the themes of the film festival is, because it's the centenary of Satyajit Ray, is Ray of Hope. Your film offers hope at the end, especially. I mean, it's like a tremendous assertion of self, which is very interesting for me, this idea of self above ideas in India. It seems kind of, you know, it's something that really needs to be explored much more. So talk about that scene of the film, when, you know, the triumphant end of the film.
There is a climax, and then there's an anti-climax, of course, in the film, because when the protagonist steps out, of course, people who are seeing this, or I'm not going to give spoilers, because there might be people who will be seeing this film. So till that moment happens, that large, you know, like thing happens at the end, that large beat of the story, it again came from essentially the kind of person that I am also. I essentially, as a few seconds before, I just said that I really hope that better days will come for us. So I don't know when that will be. So I think essentially that ending came from that I'm very optimistic as a person. So I really like to feel that it is we who has to make that choice of standing up for who we are. What the protagonist does in the film, essentially standing up for herself. And I think that is something we need to do, because after years of oppression and not being, basic freedom of speech is being curbed by people who are speaking up anything in our country. So I think, and essentially the fact that standing up for oneself starts from, you know, very tiny things. It is not essentially related to things which are really big, but it starts from small things, and that grows bigger through the course of time. So that is what I also wanted my audience to feel, people who are watching it. The fact that at the screenings, many people came up to me and thanked me, and because they essentially gave them courage, strength. That is what I wanted the audience to feel also. That just a stand up, don't chew in the oppression that you're being put through. You have to stand up and speak up for yourself. So essentially that scene came from that aspect, which I feel strongly about as well. And I think this is essentially me, who I am. And I feel that I had to give that courage, that ray of hope, as you said, to the audience, to the people who are probably living a life like our protagonist, and so that that person can take a step like our protagonist did in the film. That it is for that reason that ending is there, and I feel that people will do that, because last year, of course, again because of the pandemic and lockdown, many queer individuals had no choice but to stay at home, and many of them still didn't come out at that point. So we saw a growth of suicides also across the country, across India, heartbreaking ones, and it was absolutely shocking to see that happening, because when you have to stay so much of you have to spend so much time with your parents who might not be welcoming. It is very important that a narrative like Miss Man, a narrative like Miss Man becomes important, because it can really show what it is. It can be a mirror to the reality. And I hope that if really someone gets a reality check by this, I will consider my job done.
I think I think it's going to make people think. This is why films are made, and also, it's important. We have to note that maybe 377 has been struck down, but changing attitudes in India is going to take a very long time. I mean, it's the same way that it happened in the West. So this is a journey that we all go on together. Do not miss this film. I can't wait to see your next film. I'm going to watch out for you. I think you're going to be a really, really important filmmaker. And just thank you very much indeed. So it's lovely.
Thank you, Ash. I just wanted to say one more thing, essentially about the film, which described the film in a very wonderful way. It was said by one of like after a screening by one of the audience members. She said that she described the film beautifully. She said that this is not a queer film. This is not about queer love. This shows that how love can be queer as well. So I think that essentially captures the essence of the film. It is not about only love or this love or that. Love happens between two souls, as we see in the beginning of the film. So I really want each of the audience, whoever watches the film, that this is the time to be loved, to give love, to spread love, because if not now, then when? So UK Asian Film Festival has curated some amazing films, which essentially really brings this theme and the ray of hope really in a big way. So I'm so honored to be part of this festival and had this conversation with someone like you, Ash, and thanks to Aman, thanks to Pushpinder ji and everyone who gave our film this chance, and I'm so honored, and I hope that next time we can be at London celebrating together.
That would be brilliant. The film has huge heart like you do, and just thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.